I'm Melissa Chartrand. I'm joined today with Colleen Franzen, and we are here to talk about one of my favorite subjects, food.
Thanks, Melissa. That is one of my favorite
subjects,
too.
How could it not be? It's such a good thing. And the art. We're here. This, of course, is an arts and culture segment. How does food work into that? Well, certainly edible art, culinary arts, the culture, the history behind the foods themselves, and what we're going to find out for our viewers is how that works into the town of Barnstable. So thank you so much for being here today.
Welcome.
Should have had you bring some samples as well. So you operate, Colleen, Cape Cod Foodie Tours.
Yes, I do.
And that takes place here in Hyannis. How did you love food? Let's talk a little bit about your background and how we got to this point.
I am sort of a foodie, I guess, and I was a foodie, I think, before I even knew that term existed. About 5 or 6 years ago, I would visit my daughter who was living in Paris, and she would be working, and I would have read my Ina Garten Barefoot in Paris and her index that lists the best fromageries and boulangeries, and I would map out food tours, and I thought, what a dream job this would be. Does something like this even exist? Fast forward, another year goes by, and I'm reading a lot about culinary tourism. At the same time, I'm working at Pan d'Avignon, managing the restaurant, the cafe at Pan d'Avignon, and I lost track of how many times a year people would ask me, what should we do while we're here on vacation? What else should we do? The duck tours are great and whale watching, but foodies that are coming to Pan d'Avignon also want to try other restaurants and try good food. So I thought, maybe this is something, the food tour in the back of my mind, my casual sort of food tour I was sharing with people. I thought this might be something that will work in Hyannis. And the Hyannis bid, Main Street was looking amazing. A lot of new chefs had moved to town. Great new restaurants were opening up, as well as the iconic eateries that had been around for a while. And I just worked for about a year putting it together, researching history, architecture, cultural info, so it wouldn't just be about the food.
Sure, and let's talk about that, because I know when I visit other locales, that's what you want to do. This is a walking tour.
Yes,
what a great way to learn about the area that you're in and get a feel for what the locals do and what's here and around, and learning about the history of the town as well as the different restaurants.
I am pleased to say that a number of locals do take the tour each year. And they have, and these are locals who are actual locals. They've grown up here.
Sure.
They call me a wash ashore when I do my intro speech, because I've only lived here for 20 years, so I don't take offense to that. But I've been able to teach them a couple of things about some of the ins and outs and some pathways they didn't know about, and some of the history of the town. So that's kind of fun for me.
Sure, and you weave that in through the walk. So basically someone can sign up for the tour. They should come hungry.
They should come hungry. They should come in their walking shoes, and they should come dressed for the weather, because we go rain or shine.
Right.
I've had a good track record with sunshine, but we do go rain or shine. Halfway through the tour, I have stashed a bag of rain ponchos and umbrellas in case there's a deluge or something happens in the middle of the tour we didn't anticipate. And knock on wood, we haven't had to use those yet. So, so that was that's been a good thing.
That is a good thing. And here you say that now the tour is on Main Street, Hyannis, which is a part of the cultural district here. And one of the things that we love about the district and Main Street is there are really 40+ restaurants. It's around the world, from one end of the street to the other.
It's great, and it's not just fish and chips and chowder, although that's a very big part of our food culture and our food scene here. There is churrascaria, which is so important to the Brazilian heritage here on the Cape, and there's just a lot of different foods that people are able to try. It's a few ounces at each stop, and then there's walking in between, so they're not feeling overly full at each stop, and then they've got they earn their next bit of food by walking blocks in between. So it's just under 2 miles, and it takes about two to 3 hours depending on the size of the group.
Sure. And do the chefs share, as you say, to learn a little bit about the culture of each restaurant?
Yes, each experience is a little bit different. At one, we'll sit down and have the full experience where you'll be served by gauchos. Others, you're standing outside just talking and holding your dish and eating. So each experience is a little different. When chefs are available, they love to welcome the group and people really find that exciting to hear. You know, they've just heard about this chef and what his history is, and then to meet the person, the man or woman in person, is really exciting for them. And the one thing that people always comment on is that when they walk into each of the establishments, or we're outside, and we do currently have 7 stops on the tour, the way the chefs and the staff all brighten up and welcome the group is part of, it's not just that they're excited about the food they're going to taste, but they feel so welcome.
Yes,
yeah.
And that really is a part of the overall experience.
Absolutely.
And now in between, as you say, you share a little bit of Barnstable's history. Tell us about the research for that and things you may have learned.
Okay, well, it's interesting because the first, you know, as I said, I tried to weave some historical and architectural and cultural info into the tour. So the first winter, I think I looked somewhat like a mad woman. I walked for weeks and weeks, so many different routes, trying to see what would be best, trying to consider in my mind that I wanted a few savory stops and then a sweet stop, so eyeballing what's around, the South Street Cemetery, the, you know, Weeping Beech Tree, and, you know, taking this route that would also incorporate the waterfront, and Pleasant Street with all the old sea captains' houses, and the oldest home in Hyannis and the second oldest home, both on the street, one having been moved there and one actually on its original foundation. So I would stop, take pictures, go home, and Google was my best friend. So I would, you know, Google, get everything I could find out about the cemetery, which, you know, is ancient. South Street has 3 or 4 names, about you know, everyone buried there that I could research, and people always find it interesting that half of the people buried in the cemetery are names we're familiar with: Hinckley, Bierce, all the, you know, founding, yeah, all the founding sort of families and fathers. And it's at that point where we talk a little bit about the town of Barnstable and the 7 villages. A lot of people that come to town are so confused by Barnstable. Is this a town? What's Barnstable Village? What's, you know, the town of Barnstable? So it's, you know, we just sort of go over that history.
It's really a wonderful experience, again, to be able to walk, to visit, to make those connections with people on the tour, break bread together, experience and meet. It's
great. And the other thing that I like when I have out-of-town guests is that they're getting inside and they're saying, oh, I really like it here. I like this feel. I'd like to take my family here for dinner. When you work so hard all year long and you have your 1-week vacation or 2-week vacation and you come to Cape Cod and you want to make this commitment for dinner, it's kind of hard, you know, to put all your eggs in one basket. So here they're getting inside 7 different places, 6 or 7, 6 where they could go back to dine, or, you know, 5, and then they can say, oh, I really like it here. So oftentimes, before we leave, there have been groups that have made reservations for dinner for that night or the next day. So the restaurant owners are really excited when that happens.
Sure, and that supports the economy. Plus, you've walked them around town. They see how easy it is to walk and spend more time.
Right. The Hyannis HyArts Cultural District is just, it's amazing how well laid out. Everything is now and well signed. So to go from, you know, right up on Main Street to find follow the wave and, you know, get down to the waterfront. Everything is so well lit and well signed in the evening now.
Right.
It's such a pleasure.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, let's let our viewers know, because you certainly are easy to find. They can see some great pictures on Instagram.
Yes.
But let's share where else they can get some information about that. And I know the season runs May to October, give or take.
Yeah, because some of my partners are seasonal, so somebody may end up, if the weather is bad, you know, you might close a little bit earlier than Columbus Day. So I sort of say late May to late September, but we can go a little further than that. So we have Instagram, which I'm just really starting to focus on now that this is my full-time job, is a food tour, and Facebook. TripAdvisor, you can read the reviews on, and TripAdvisor is really how my business has grown, because I am an internet-based business, so if anybody was interested in coming on the tour, they would go online to my website, www.capecodfoodietours.com, and they would order tickets through there, or they would call the 800 number. So I find that a lot of tourists will have planned what they're going to do before they arrive on the Cape. So people are not, you know, finding me in rack cards and that sort of thing, because they've come to the Cape and they've already made their plan. Tickets are sold, you know, sort of the day before. But Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest.
Right.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
So our viewers can right. So our
Yeah.
viewers can find you
Yes.
on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and on your website.
Yes, yes.
I know that visitors, residents, and visitors to the area alike will enjoy really learning some history and getting to walk the downtown HyArts Cultural District.
Yeah, I hope so. Thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing with us today. For Colleen Franzreb, I'm Melissa Chartrand, wishing you an artful day.
Thank you.